Oh, and it made up the word de-widenment, by the way, just for the tour. That's not a real word, I wouldn't use it in scrap. Our movable bridges do open and close, trunnion vestibule. You can find them if you come back and visit us in October. They'll be opening for sailboats. A very simple 1912 Chicago School coffee warehouse is coming up on our right. The sign Chicago School in this case refers to the Chicago School of Psychology inside, but it's appropriate because it's a Chicago School skyscraper. I'm going to put 3 elements of the skyscraper right into your brain now from those days we still use today. Number 1, look at that. We're still supporting buildings with a skeletal internal frame. Why? Because then you can open up the building to natural light with those great big windows, which were even called Chicago windows in the early days of the building trade. Now there's a 3rd element of the skyscraper that's underground. You know, Chicago was carved out by the glaciers and left a really soft dirt, a soft soil behind. So we anchor buildings in Chicago with posts called caissons, watertight box-like structures filled with concrete. You better think about drilling down 65 feet. You got to get through that softer clay to something solid, most likely hardpan, oxidized. And on our right, one of the greatest examples of Art Deco, that rather streamlined, angular style that came out of the Paris exhibition in 1925. You know what? Whenever I say the word Art Deco, I become Art Deco. I'm like a wood ornament on the cars from the 30s. The Chicago Merchandise Mart, largest structure in America prior to completion of the Pentagon. Art Deco, the style that gave the roar to the roaring 20s. 4,600 windows, 7 miles of hallways. They had to give that building its own zip code. Commissioned for $32 million by the Marshall Field Department Store. They dreamed of a giant wholesale market. They woke up and it was the Great Depression. They had to sell it for $16 million by 1945. Who could make it work? Who else? Joseph P. Kennedy, the father of our late president and senators. I think that was a good thing too. Anyone remember Joe Kennedy? He was a man of action. He got things done. We can say Joe used to get you just what you needed. And with 96 acres, that's 4.2 million square feet. He brought in the furniture design trade who have showrooms throughout. He pioneered the idea of the trade show out of Chicago's Merchandise Mart. And one of the biggest furniture designs in the country happens there every year. Some of you might know it. It's called Neocon. It comes out of the merchandise. Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the historic beginning of Chicago, Wolf Point. This is where everyone settled in. The South Branch left, North Branch right. We approach from the east. And for the early 1800s, if we weren't at Fort Dearborn, which stood by the Michigan Avenue Bridge, you'd hop a canoe down here for a drink. Before Chicago was a city, they built a lot of taverns, so we'd never go thirsty again. Where you see the somewhat Bauhaus Holiday Inn in the first of 3 Wolf Point Towers, Miller House Tavern, 1827. Directly ahead of us, the new River Point office complex, a photo not to be missed. Look at the reflection under the archway. That's a happy accident. The architects didn't know that was going to happen, and they were very excited when it did. And that's where the Wolf Point Tavern would have been in 1829. Now, at the corner of Lake Street in those early days, you would have stumbled into a barracks with a pig wallow for a street called the Sauganash Hotel. Sauganash, Chicago's own hotel. Sauganash? That's Native American. It's Potawatomi for Englishmen. But the Sauganash was not run by the Englishman it was named for, Billy Caldwell. No. It was, however, run by Billy Caldwell's best friend, the French-Canadian Creole fiddle player, Marc Bobien. Known for playing the fiddle, he'd often say, I fiddle like a devil, I keep my hotel like hell, yeah. Well, friends, it was at Bobien's Sauganash Hotel. 13 electors sat down, they took a vote. It was 12 against 1 to incorporate. So Chicago's birthday, March 4th, 1837, 4 years later. We toured the North Branch, an industrial river, but look around, you were in the midst of a residential renaissance. Did you know more people are moving into Chicago than leaving now? They like the nightlife downtown. Did you check out that beautiful park at Wolf Point Towers? And you might have noticed a nice park with River Point as well. All new public buildings by ordinance are to have public space. I mean, all private buildings, if you build along the river, save something for the people. I want to give a shout out to the city of San Antonio, Texas, who is reclaiming their river in the 1980s and inspired Chicago. We said, you know what? San Antonio is doing what Daniel Burnham wanted to see. The river can become a second lakefront. We began our urban waterways design project in 1990. So like they say in the movies, it's been years in the making. And everything you saw along the river just now, it's only 2 years old, all those new areas. Here's a single-leaf bascule bridge, the old Chicago Union Railroad Bridge, no longer in use. It's a piece of urban art. We keep it around to scare the people living over here at Fulton House. Harry Weiss, 1981, one of the first loft conversion units in Chicago, built in 1908 and refrigerated for 70 years. Just like your freezer before Harry could punch windows and turn into condos, 2 months of defrosting. 1989, Harry Weiss again does the coolest 4 townhomes in Chicago. These are called the River Cottages. And for the 18 years I've been on the river, they're still my favorite. The third one you'll see they're working on, I just heard it sold 2.3 million. Nobody wants to leave here. Triangular skylights like schooner sails, portable windows you can find on the ship. Because Harry Weiss was an architect and a sailor who was building a boat from scratch. I learned that from a guy who was an intern with Harry in the 60s who was on my boat in 2009. Harry once said, water is a magnet. It will always draw people to it. I think Harry Weiss understood Carl Jung, that we humans have an archetype in the brain. Don't we long for the sea, the original source, the blue, the azure? There are always days where a river